Hello everyone, and now we are going to see about how to create a login page for our application. So for letting the user to access the detailed functionality of our system, we want to authenticate them. And here we are going to use the username and the password as an authentication mechanism. So first we need to check if the provided username and the password is correct. So if both are correct, we'll allow or we'll let the user to move to the second page. So this is a kind of a continuation from our lesson 5. And in case you didn't watch that, maybe you can watch that first, and then you can get to know the detailed component behind the application that we are going to build. So here, just as a revision, here we do have two Java code, one for each interface that we have. And again, we have two XML code, okay? So as you can see from this GUI, we have two editable text. One is to read the username and the second one is to read the password. So here we code it using the XML like this. So we specify both the height and the width, and again, we provide hint, something that's going to be displayed on top of this editable text. And yeah, up to this point, we miss the ID because ID is very important attribute for editable text. Without ID, we cannot get the value that was written to this editable text from our Java code. So we need to give a unique ID. So since this is up for the username, I'm going to create the ID, just Android ID, then add plus ID, then you can give the ID. So since we are referring to the username, you can say ID underscore username. This is going to be the ID for this one. Just you need to remove this underscore ID username. And again, we need to give a unique ID for this one too. And I'm going to name it like this ID. And I can say ID. Then I would say password. Sorry, password. Okay. So I think this, I need to remove this one which says ID. Then save it. What's wrong here? I don't know why it's showing me error. Invalid ID. I think what's wrong. Now it's fixed, I think. Yeah, it's saying username now. Now everything is correct, yes. So now I set the ID for both editable text, and I need to give on click property because when a user clicks on login button, I wanted to verify if the input is correct or not. So for this purpose, I need to provide on click property. So on click, and I need to give a unique name, button login click, because I'm going to use this name as a function name inside my Java code later on. Okay, let's copy it. And now I will go to the main activity Java code, and I can create a function here, public void, and with that name, and it's of type UV, and done. So I will come back to this one later on. But before this one, I need to establish a link between, let me hide this one. Yes. So for this one, where is it? This is the first activity. So for this one, we do have two IDs, yes, editable text for the username for password. So we need to link it with the Java code. So to do that, I need to come here and I need to create two editable text here. Edit text and two. One is for my username and for my PWD for password. And I need to tell which one is it. So my username, let me call it my username like this, so that the code is more readable. My username is equal to find view by ID resource.id. And what is the ID of this one? It's username. It needs to be similar with the one that we define inside the XML code here, this one. And we need to do the same thing for the password. So what is my PWD is equal to find view by ID resource.id.password. So now we did the link, and the next step is we need to define static username and the password, because since up to this time we didn't learn about creating the database or creating user account. Yes. So for this time, let's simply create static username and the password. Then we can compare the input provided by the user with that static password that we create. Okay. So we need to do that, and let's create those static passwords. So string, I may say uname is equal to, I may say Ahmed 123, or I can simply say Ahmed. And yeah, for username, let's use Ahmed only. And I need to do the same thing for the password. Password is equal to, let's say, Muhammad 123. So I'm going to compare the input provided by the user, my username with this one, password with this one, because this one is the one which is going to be provided by the user. Okay, so first I need to get what was written here. So that means I need to convert this one to string. So let's create string input username, the one input by the user, is equal to, I'm going to get it from my username editable text dot get text, and then I need to convert that to string. Done. Do the same thing for the password editable text. Then I may say input password is equal to my pwd dot get text and a dot to string. Okay, so what's remaining, we need to compare this one with this one, yes, using dot equals function, because we already seen this one in our last class when we build a calculator. Okay, maybe lecture 4, you can watch that if you don't understand the string manipulation command. So now let's use if else. It's straightforward, yes. If I wanted to check if it is exactly the same or not, so I wanted to compare uname dot, just you can use equals function. If uname is equal with input username, and because one is not enough, yes, both the username and the password needs to be correct, and password dot equals with what? Input password. So if this is true, that means we can let the user to move to the second page. Yes, we will go to the second page. Otherwise, else, we wanted to toast some message. We wanted to display some message. Toast dot make text. Then we can say application context, and then the message that we want to display. Oh, invalid user or incorrect user, you can say invalid credentials or invalid inputs. Try again. Then we can specify the length of the toast, and just we can say show. Done. So let me make it like this. Let me make it more readable like this here. So what will happen when the input is correct? So we need to open the second form using explicit intent. Intent I is equal to new intent this, and we want to go to the second form. In our case, this home page, dot class, and then you can simply say start activity I. So we want to start another activity that's our home page, the second form, which says welcome. So now let's check it. So let's open our emulator and let's rerun it again, and so that we can see if our application will work or not. Okay. So let's wait for APK is installed already. You see, here is our application. Let's zoom it a little bit, and now let's type something here, something that's incorrect. And if I click on login button, you see it says invalid input, try again. Yes, because the default username that we set is what? Ahmed. I need to change that. Ahmed, and the password is Muhammad123. Now it's login, yes, no error. Welcome. Yes. So similarly, you can, maybe it's interesting to use something different to indicate the error. Yes, to show the error. So maybe to do that, instead of toasting the message when the input is not correct, you may add additional text view somewhere here to display the message, and I may add it here somewhere here. Let me add one text view here, and you can take a look at the difference. Text view, yep, wrap content, and initially the text, let's make it empty. Now text, let's make it empty, and I may give this one ID because I wanted to display some text when there is an error. ID. So here the ID is here. Let me say my error. So let's close it. And here I wanted to change the color, text color. Text color is here. Let me see. I don't know if red is there or not. Let me check. Color primary material. We need to have red color. Let me go to string and check if you have that or not. Colors, and actually we don't have red here, so let's create red here. So I need to call this one red. Let's change the hexadecimal value to red like this. So now we can get this color value. Where is it? Yeah, text color, add color red, you see. Now it's empty, and later on we can write something to here. So copy, and let's go to our Java code, and here you can say my error. Okay, we need to establish a link first, so I can add one text view er here. What is er? Er is equal to resource.id.myError. So I will write some text here. Er dot set text. And I can say valid inputs. So let's check it. Save, and let's run it again. Zoom it a little bit. It's trying to install, and let's write some invalid input here. Login, you see? Now it's showing invalid input. You see? Do the same thing. It says invalid input. So this is more preferable to display the error. But when the case of the correct input, like we have Ahmed and we have Mohammed, made 1, 2, 3. So let's change this one to capital M. You see? Login. You see, it's same invalid input because we are using equals. But in case you want to ignore, if you want to ignore the capital case, you can say ignore case instead of using equals. Okay, now it will log in. See, so in this way we can build an application with a login page and a logout. Yes. So what we did is we define static username and a password, and then we get the input from the user, and then we compare the static password with the one provided by the user using if-else statement like this. And then if the input is correct, we lead the user to the second page. Otherwise, we show the invalid input error to the user. So next time, we'll see about how to create an account, and we can create a SQL-like database. So instead of creating static username and a password. We will let the user to create or define his username and a password, and we can use that information for authentication purpose. So that's something we are going to see in lecture 8. But before that, we need to cover about the concept related to implicit intent and how to launch another activity from one activity. And after one, we will start talking about database, okay? How to create a database, how to establish a link between your application and database. So this is what we have for today. And next time we'll talk about implicit intent, okay?